So, you might have heard me before say that Rochester is corrupt, Rochester is getting people hurt, Rochester is doing actions that are very corrupt and anti to the people that could get help. And there's lots of people that can basically just work and live their lives if the town of Rochester and certain wealthy individuals weren't allowed to be breaking the law. But Rochester has allowed their taxpayers to take advantage of any hardworking essential workers they want. They're allowed to increase the rent right during a crisis. Like, for instance, you get massive inflations in the stores, people start price gouging, COVID happened, the essential workers are only making minimum wage, and now that the landlords are feeling this super inflation, they're feeling it now. They decide they're going to gouge their customers, the tenants. So they go up on a tenant fixing of raising the rent twice a year. This year, he raised it January, March, April, about there. Yeah, I think it was April, sorry. March, April. No, sorry. January, April, the first of the year, one increase, and then one more increase 4 months later. Last year, he did the same thing. One increase in January, another increase. The year before that, an increase. Now, I wouldn't be complaining about the increase if he wasn't increasing my rent as I wait for 6 years for a waterfall coming down my wall to be fixed. I have taken videos of water coming in my apartment for 6 years now. He's known about it, said we're going to get new window frames for 6 years now, and yet we still got water damaging our property. Our health is failing. I'm having seizures and getting injured in the hospital, and all the landlord has to do is maintain his property. That's it. If the landlord maintains his property, then there wouldn't be a problem here. How about the drinking water? Many people have problems with the drinking water here, and they have to get their water from Poland Spring. But so many people get their water from Poland Spring here that the list is full. They said they can't take any more people in this area right now. They keep calling. Everybody gets their water that way. Why? Because he's buried illegally a septic tank in the woods that is now leaked into the ground, and now there's just some swampy sewage ground with a giant septic tank half above the ground with a wide open hole. And if you walk back to our apartment, there's a leaking septic tank below our feet. That leaks into the groundwater, and wouldn't you know, our water comes from groundwater. And the water reports he flushes the pipes right before they test it, and they still come back with a bunch of shit. And that's him testing the pipes after he flushes everything he can out of them. He tries to bleach it, flush it, do everything he can to try to clean it up. And not actually have to do a fucking thing and clean it up. Meaning he just tries to clean up it once before the test and then lets it build up and get everybody sick. But doesn't stop there. Doesn't stop there. He won't let the tenants use any bug control for infestations. Instead, the landlord has one guy on the payroll and he doesn't want to use him at all. He tries to make sure he doesn't have to use him. So, we got bed bugs at some point. He sprayed. 9 months, a year later, we're filled with them again, both bedrooms. We had to shut the bedrooms down. I sprayed some bed bug spray near the line so it wouldn't spread to the living room and kitchen or anywhere else. We shut it down once we were covered in them. We took all our clothing off and we bought all new mattresses, all new clothing. We bug bombed in this room and we sprayed the doorway and just we did everything we could. But still the bugs persist in the 2 bedrooms. Everywhere else we've been able to keep bug free for years now. 3 years, no bugs anywhere but the 2 bedrooms. But we paid money. We gave hundreds of dollars to the landlord, and we were having allergic reactions. When things crawl on me, I have more neurological disorder symptoms. When bugs bite or crawl on my roommate, he gets big welts and allergic reactions with big rings on them. Also, there's a big epidemic of what disease? Lyme disease going on. And they haven't studied Lyme disease. We just found out in the 90s that Lyme disease is passed by ticks. What other blood-sucking bugs can pass Lyme disease, I wonder, that we don't quite know about yet? We assume we know everything, but really, we know nothing. The doctors who say meds are safe really don't even know that because they don't know shit about the microbiome. So when your doctor gives you a bunch of random pills for sleep, and they tell you, no, 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 these things can't hurt you, they actually don't know shit because you ask them a simple question after that. Oh, so what will it do to my microbiome? He'll say, oh, we don't know that. Well, you just told me it'll be safe. Yeah, it is. But you could get Crohn's disease and you can get a lot of diseases if your microbiome gets fucked up. Yeah, but we don't know what causes those fucked up microbiomes that cause other diseases. But a lot of people that take pills end up with diseases like Crohn's disease. So they think that there's a lot to do with that. Shouldn't we look into that? Nope, they say. Nope, they say. No. Why no? Shouldn't we be a little more cautious about what we give 5-year-olds who are still in growing bodies? Oh no, they're orphans and they're foreigners who don't speak English. Let's drug the shit out of them, turn them into crippled cash cows who can never work, and that's fine, right? No, it's not. So, what am I talking about here? This letter right here. What I did was I called my doctors and I told them that they need to write letters and the insurance needs to start paying for testing because I'm having to cook on the floor and I was bleeding on the side of the road only because doctors will not write a piece of paper. If doctors write a piece of paper about my condition, then I don't have to be walking on the side of the road having seizures, getting bloody, and then getting injured where I can't take care of myself. And there are months after these seizures where I go 2-3 months where I can't take care of myself. But they can be prevented. They can be easily prevented with Social Security, with doctor care, with the Department of Health and Human Services doing their job. So I asked them to please do their job. I asked the Department of Health and Human Services to approve my cash benefits. They asked why. I said I'm disabled. They said they don't really think I'm disabled. I showed them a bunch of doctor paperwork. I showed them a bunch of injuries. I showed them a bunch of pictures that show I'm bloodied up. I've been falling on the side of the road. I can't walk. I'm having trouble cooking, and I'm cooking waffles on the fucking floor because I can't stand up anymore. And you think I'm okay? I just had to crawl across 2 lanes of traffic because the doctor wouldn't issue me a wheelchair and told me I had to get a CT scan or they weren't going to help me no more. So I told them I needed help getting to the CT scan because I didn't want to crawl across traffic. And they said, well, we can't help you with that. And then they said they were going to refuse medical care to me if I didn't crawl across traffic and get into the hospital to get a CT scan. When I asked if I could call an ambulance, they told me no more ambulances just to get to the hospital. If you can crawl to the hospital, then you don't need an ambulance. How fucked up is that? When I call an ambulance, they circle up and play with me. They have me try to walk downstairs when my nervous system isn't working, and then I fall and whack my head against the wall, and then they pretend like they didn't just see that. How fucked up is this shit? I've had people throw me to the ground until I'm bloody. I've had people steal my shoes and wallet after a seizure. I have had people pour booze on me as I was unconscious, as I was going unconscious, and then I went unconscious. Then I woke up in the emergency room with another stupid fucker asking me why I'm sober. Your blood came back sober. Your hair came back sober. Everything came back sober. Why are you sober? I said, because I want to be sober. What stupid question? I just woke up in the emergency room. I can't feel my legs properly. The whole room is spinning. I think I have a concussion. There's no drugs in my system, no alcohol in my system. I was passing by a bar asking somebody to call 911. And 2 hours earlier than that, I was asking if anybody could give me a drink because it's been a month without a drink and I'm starting to shake from the cold. I'm just telling you, I'm very shaky from the cold, but if I got a drink, it would help. But after weeks of trying not to drink, weeks and weeks, and the cold affecting me, I walk by a bar and I fall. Some random bar goer pours booze on me. I go unconscious and wake up in the hospital. Now, there's no booze in my system, no alcohol in my blood, no alcohol on my breath, no drugs in my system. My blood, my hair, everything is fine. So the nurses are confused. Why do we find you unconscious on the ground? It looks like you were highly injured. I said, I don't know. And then they just released me on the spot and asked me, oh, why are you sober? And then they ask, well, why did you smell like booze on your clothing? We have your clothing and it reeks like booze. Oh, somebody poured it on me. So they decide the next thing they're going to do is release. You see how fucked up this is? You see how fucked up people are? And then you try to go get help from the state, right? So what do? What does the fucking state do when they see the pictures of your body bloody, when they talk to the people involved, when they talk to your manager who's seen you at work, when they start talking to the people who see these things, you wanting something, you getting hurt, things that you can't do on purpose, things that are medically impossible to do on purpose. They just happen. Like you can't piss black on purpose. You can't make black urine come out of your penis on camera on purpose. You can't drink a bottle of ink and your piss comes out black. It doesn't work that way. It's not medically possible to fake your urine turning black out of your penis. But yet I show these to the doctors and I ask them for help so I can take care of myself and get Social Security and go back to work. They refuse the help. They refuse the Social Security. They refuse the cash benefits. They try to get me more injured. They play with my health. They poke me. People beat me. They throw me on the ground, kick me in my injured kidneys. And then I get stupid ass letters like this that say I can't take care of myself. And say that they got reports that I can't take care of myself. No fucking duh, but why don't you say the reports are coming from me, assholes? Why don't you say Zach is reporting that he can't take care of himself because you guys are discriminating against him? How many times do I gotta say I get better as soon as you guys stop kicking me on the ground, as soon as I get epilepsy medication, as soon as the doctors do their jobs, as soon as Social Security does something other than give money to rich people, as soon as I'm not being taken advantage of, I can take care of my fucking self. I can even drive. As soon as I have this bullshit taken care of, and then we're only on me. We're only on me, the real world me. The me that everybody sees with their own two eyes. Not the stories, not the avoiding giving me money, not the government trying to avoid helping people, not the doctors not wanting to get involved for a lawsuit, not the doctors being confused, not getting released without anything, because they'll write fucking anything in the fucking fantasy world on your paper when they know nothing. If you arrived unconscious, and then they released you after you woke up, and nothing else was fucking done other than drug testing, what the fuck can they really put on your paperwork for release? Came in unconscious, smelled like booze, said somebody poured booze on him, we released. Why don't you mention that you billed my insurance for drug testing and I told you I was sober? Why doesn't my insurance company ever get that fucking piece of paper? Why don't they ever get that message? Why doesn't anybody write down when I came conscious and they asked me why I'm coming back sober and I told them that's a stupid question because I'm sober? Why doesn't anybody report that to the insurance company? When Zach awoke, the nurse asked Zach why he was sober and why his clothing acted like booze. Zach's response was the nurse was asking stupid questions. Of course I'm sober. Why the fuck are you asking me these questions? And the nurse responded, because your clothing smells like booze. And then Zach responded he was abused by somebody pouring booze on him as he was having a medical emergency and he couldn't get up and was going unconscious from a fall from something that he doesn't understand. Then maybe my insurance company would approve overnight stays to look into this neurological disorder. But instead, I can't even get a time to speak. So there's no use to even try to tell the fucking emergency room in Lowell about this because they don't even give you a fucking chance to speak. The homeless are literally abused over and over, and then they write, oh, we helped him, we helped him. You push the fucker in a hallway, and then you pushed him outside and let him fall on the ground. I've seen so many people leave hospitals more injured than they went in. I've seen so many homeless people go into a hospital needing medical care where they could fix them up in 20 seconds or less, but they choose not to. I have seen this time after time after time. Only because the patient doesn't understand what has just happened to him medically. And they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to do anything. But the doctors do want to play with these children's health. The doctors very much do want to medicate 5-year-olds on state insurance. So they do want to fuck with these children's health when they're children. But then they become 20, they're homeless, their health is failing, and the doctors refuse help when they need it. So when these kids are just fine and they're perfect, they're just hyper, these doctors get involved, making things worse. Then, when these children grow up and they know what's wrong with them, they have spoke to doctors online, they have tried to go to medical school, whatever they've tried to do to make themselves better, and they know what type of doctor they need, what type of help they need, what type of medications they need. At that point, the doctors say, fuck you, get $1 million and give it to me. Well, why did you fuck me up with medications at age 5? I don't remember having $1 million at age 5 to give you. I don't remember that being important to over-medicate 5-year-olds who don't have provable or disprovable diseases. I don't remember that being part of the deal. I mean, if a machine tells you you have a disease and you've established this over 5 to 10 years of testing, okay, 10 years of testing, that's one thing. If the child's 1 year old and he's blind, and 5 years old, and then at 5 he still seems blind, and then at 6 years old he still seems blind, but then a doctor says he has a cure at 7 years old, okay, that's different. You've had 7 years of your child being blind. But if your child's a hyper just running around like a normal kid, plays with matches like a normal kid, he didn't have a childhood like a normal kid, but he was still a normal kid, it's probably not a good idea to experiment with medicine just because a crazy adopted mother thinks it's a good idea to get him on as many medications as once, and the mother is saying a lot of things that she says are true but really aren't. This mother just met this child first year in, and she's already trying to push for more and more and more and more medication, saying, I'm a mother, I know best, I used to be a nurse, I know best. Meanwhile, what she's really doing is dangerous. I mean, if she was really a nurse and she knew best, then she would know giving a full bottle of Ipecac or giving extra medication to a child is wrong. But she admitted to the whole family that she thought it was okay to give extra medication to a child. He is prescribed, and she said absolutely. I asked her if she thought it was okay to give a child extra Ipecac as a punishment. She said absolutely. She thought that she could give children extra medication and there was no consequences to her actions. Even on Halloween, when my mother had to get her way, everybody said I could go out trick-or-treating. My mother said she didn't want me to. Everybody said, let him, let him. She wasn't getting her way. She said, Zach, come over here, take your meds. Gave me meds, slipped in some she weren't supposed to. First Halloween that this happened, puking in the can. Second Halloween this happened, turned pale in the mirror. Remember looking in the mirror and oh my God, I looked pale and I felt weak and sick. And then the third time this happened, then my mother called me to take, Zach, come take your pills before you go trick-or-treating. Then I got sick. This time I was vomiting, sick to my stomach. I wasn't really blowing chunks, but I was dry heaving and very nauseous and pale. So, 3 Halloweens, all very suspicious circumstances. Now, I was a little kid, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Somewhere around those ranges. And they were very close together. It wasn't like she spread these out. There might have been, that this was all done within a 4-year period. My mother did this to me, yes. But as a child, me, my nephew, my friends, whenever Halloween came around the corner, I used to say, I hope I don't get the Halloween curse. And they'd say, what's the Halloween curse? I said, every Halloween I get a flu. I get sick. Every Halloween like clockwork. Right when I put on my costume, I get sick. Very, very sick. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I hope I don't get it this year. And then finally there was a year where I didn't get the Halloween flu. And then there was a bunch of Halloweens where I just didn't go out because my mother kept me in Maine or places where there was no place to trick or treat. But when there was actual places to trick or treat, when I actually could have went trick or treating with my nephew, when there was times I did get awfully sick all of a sudden right after being administered medication, right after my mother said I couldn't go and everybody else overruled her, and then I got sick and my mother got her way because I was sick. That's the only reason why my mother got her way, is because I was sick. Now, doctors knew my mother was unstable. A lot of these doctors used to smile when my mother would ask for other medications, while doctors in other places used to know my mother was dangerous and tell her they weren't going to give her pills to give to me without more information and without seeing me for long periods of time. But my mother kept me moving, and with all the drugs and the ruler whackings and the moving around from state to state and the lack of education, and my mother and father trying to claim that I'm mentally ill and I'm just slow and retarded, and that's why I really can't get any ahead in school. But they're leaving out the fact I'm missing 4 years of education, and a bunch of added on repeats where they just had me evaluated from place to place. Now, anybody, you do that to any kid, and you'll have the same result as me. Because when they brought me to Chelmsford, they had two choices. They could take responsibility for their actions and tell the school how severely they fucked up with my education, and then the school would try to really, really catch me up, knowing that I'm extremely smart, but I wasn't able to actually go to school and learn from many, many occasions. But all you have to do is tell them, nope, my son is not special ed. He just was never allowed to go to school. So if you do try to catch him up, you're going to have some behavioral issues where he gets mad that you're forcing so many hours of school into him, and that you're, having to go home and be private schooled all night and all this shit. He's going to hate that, all of it. But he will actually blow up to grade because he's only missing a bunch of shit. But instead, my parents went with, our son is retarded and slow, so the school dumbed everything down. So instead of me being allowed to make up for the 4 years of missing all the stuff I never got to see, still to this day, I still have no idea what other kids get when they're ages 8 to 11. I have no idea. No fucking idea what they get. What did I get? Don't put your fucking hand in a hole. Go hit this rock with a hammer, you'll get a fossil. Go take this glue gun, go outside, pick up this, and glue it in this way, and you get a house. The Indians used to live here, and we're going to read you a story. Stuff like that. The first 3 years we were there, though, there was a teacher there. But I remember, I got 1 hour out of this real teacher, but she wasn't there for long. You got to remember, too, you got ages 8 all the way up to 14, and there was one 6-year-old who was there for a very short amount of time. So, how does a teacher have all these different grades and teach all of them at once? They don't. They take the day and they break it up into multiple different classes. 1 hour for these 3 kids, 1 hour for these 3 kids, 1 hour for these 3 kids, 1 hour for these 3 kids. And that's how they do it. And after about 3 months, she realized that she didn't want to be part of this. It was a long commute and they weren't paying her enough. The staff members said it was because they didn't pay her enough. She told us, the kids, she's sorry, but she couldn't commute. And we didn't have a teacher for another year. Then at my end of my 18-month stay, we had a bald older guy come in, and he's the one who did the gluing of the houses. We had all extracurricular activities. So I have no idea what I was supposed to learn, especially that nobody ever caught me up and actually was like, oh, this is what you were supposed to learn on those years. Why? My mother and father could never take responsibility for their own failures. So instead, they created more failures. Instead of the schools realizing that there was hope for me to catch up, all we had to do was tell them how severely the fuck-ups were. We had to tell them that the medication was a problem. We also had to tell them about this overdose, allergy attack that Zach keeps on speaking about, and my mother keeps on calling an allergy attack, That needs to be taken care of. You cut down all the drowsy medications, keep giving him the Ritalin, and maybe an epilepsy pill, and now boom! Oh my God, you got somebody ahead of all the other kids. But instead, they just like, oh, he's mentally ill, he's retarded, drug him, give him as many pills as possible. So of course the school's trying to dumb things down. So there's no possible way to catch up if I'm getting less than what a regular kid is getting. I need what a regular kid is getting plus what I missed. So I gotta be studying whatever the fuck I missed, and I gotta try to do the regular stuff. So I gotta do 4 years of back stuff, and I gotta do the regular stuff. And thank God I have ADHD and I'm hyper and thank God I have a great mind and just a shitty body, because all you need to do that is the mind. You just need somebody there, though. You can't do it on your own. You need teachers, you need payments to private tutors, and you're going to need people who are willing to stand an angry child. Because no child likes spending all day in school and then coming home to do all day of school because he didn't get school in New Mexico. But my mother and father, that would be too difficult for them. Nope, nope. A screaming child who's doing school all the time, angry that he has to go to school all day long. No, 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 no. We'll look for special ed schools. He'll spend most of his time riding on a bus. Yeah, that's what we'll do.